Hello. This fella's under house arrest. He has no gaming console, no music player, as well as any other form of entertainment. But he still found a way to survive amidst the boredom of 4 walls. Who would have thought that his way of doing so would be so dangerous? One day, a teenager named Kale and his father, who's a writer, go on a fishing trip. They have a great time and are returning home in high spirits, when suddenly... Kale and his father are alive, but have no time to make it out of the car. A pickup truck suddenly crashes into it, driving at insane speeds. The boy struggles to get out of his seat and, already on the outside, realizes that his dad did not survive the second collision. A year goes by. During Spanish class, Kale doesn't even hide the fact that he's napping, and when the teacher asks him to talk about his plans for the summer, he can't string 2 words together. Then the teacher asks him an unpleasant question.
Your father think?
The teenager ends up in court. According to the law, Kale faces up to a year in juvenile detention, but the judge takes into account the death of his father and decides to give the boy a second chance. Kale is put on 3 months of house arrest. He's given a special bracelet which lights up red whenever he gets even a little bit away from his home. If he tries to run away and break the bracelet, a police squad will immediately come to his house. And the ironic thing is that Officer Gutierrez, who also happens to be his Spanish teacher's cousin, will be a part of the squad. Shortly after starting his unplanned reclusion, Kale discovers that his mother has blocked his console and music services. His best friend Ronnie barely talks to him because he's hanging out with girls on vacation. The kid gets distracted by small household chores like laundry or washing dishes, but that really doesn't save the day. Everything changes when Kale sees his new neighbor. The guy's standing at the window with his mouth open, admiring the pretty girl, when suddenly there's a knock on the door. He runs to open the door. There's no one on the doorstep, only a very unusual package. Kale looks up to see if he's being tricked by the neighborhood kids. The kids are certain the boy won't do anything to them, so they tease him. Kale, however, loses his patience and runs after the kids nonetheless. When the bracelet turns red, the guy hurries back to the green zone. But Gutierrez comes after him anyway. Kale doesn't get arrested, but if something like this happens again, he'll have to go back to court. Finally, the teenager's visited by Ronnie, who's returned from vacation. Kale shows his friend his new hobby, peeping at his neighbor. Particularly one girl. Ronnie encourages his friend to meet her. The next day, Kale does just that.
I'm Ashley, by the way.
In the evening, Kale is watching TV. People talk about a certain kidnapper of young women in a dented blue Mustang. Later, in his room, he hears the strange sounds of a car pulling up. Kale realizes that it's a blue Mustang and goes to the window to see what's going on. His neighbor pulls black bags out of the trunk and then pulls into the garage. The car has a big dent in its side. The next day, Ronnie visits Kale again. They discover that the circumstances surrounding the missing girl in their town are very similar to the 3 kidnappings that occurred 3 years ago in Texas. But then the boys get distracted by something far more interesting. Ronnie gets so caught up in peeking at Ashley that he accidentally bangs his binoculars against the window. The guys hide under the frame, but when they look out again, they realize that they had been spotted. While the buddies panic and argue, someone rings the doorbell. Standing on the doorstep is Ashley. She asks what they're doing and offers to hang out. The boys can't believe their luck. Back in the room, they begin to hastily clean up, but Ashley notices the binoculars at the window nonetheless. The girl asks if Kale has been spying on the neighbors. Then, the friends rush to tell her everything they know about the suspicious Robert Turner on the blue Mustang. The girl laughs at the guys, but after all decides to look through the binoculars out of curiosity. Just then, the Mustang pulls out of the garage, but it's no longer dented. Kale assures her that the sly neighbor must have just fixed it. At the same time, the newly minted spy notices a strange detail on the garage walls. The Longhorn skulls.
What state's he killing from?
Texas.
Now Ashley's really intrigued. She stays at the guy's house and reads about the past kidnappings on the internet. At some point, Ronnie falls asleep, and Kale and Ashley are left alone. They flirt and share details about their lives with each other. When suddenly, the blue Mustang returns to the house next door, and not just by himself, but with a red-headed girl in a second car. Kale and Ashley take to watching the evening unfold at the neighbor's house. Now they not only have binoculars, but also the powerful zoom video camera that Ronnie brought. Turner and his red-headed guest start kissing, and there's some tension between Kale and Ashley too. The guy even kicks Ronnie out so he doesn't spoil the moment, but...
Hi, Mom.
Ashley hurries home and closes the blinds in her room. Kale has no choice but to watch the neighbors and be bored. But suddenly, the boy hears screaming coming from Turner's house. He goes to the window and sees the red-headed girl trying to get out of the house. but Robert won't let her leave. Kale starts watching the scene through the camera, but in his haste presses the wrong button. After a few seconds, Kale musters up the courage to look through the binoculars again, and this time he sees Turner's face in the window, looking right at him. The boy is distracted by Ronnie's call, and when he turns around, he sees the red-headed girl driving away quietly in her car. The next morning, Kale goes down to the kitchen to make breakfast and runs into Turner. The kid starts to panic, and then his mother shows up and explains that Robert met her in the supermarket parking lot and helped her pump up her tire. Turner acts in an emphatically polite manner, but Kale responds in an aggressive way when Turner invites his mother to go out for dinner soon. The boy completely loses his temper.
For me, it's not gonna happen, but I'm sure my mother would love to go, huh, Ma?
Later, Kale finds out that Ashley is having a party at her house and gets even more upset. In the evening, the guy observes the party through the binoculars, even though the girl asked him not to. Kale sees his date making out with a random guy and squints at his window. Kale gets angry, takes his music system to the rooftop and blasts the music all the way up. Ashley, enraged, sneaks into Kale's house through the window and turns the speakers off. They start fighting. When the guy mentions that she's been teasing him with her peeks, the girl realizes that he's been following her all night long.
But for how long?
Then Kale begins to make excuses. He tells her how he admires her sweet habits and love of literature. Suddenly, this touches Ashley, and she kisses him. They go to Kale's room and cuddle on the bed, but the girl is suddenly distracted by a strange sound. They go to the window and see Turner carrying a bloody bag into the garage. The next day, the trio decides to pull off a secret operation. While Ashley follows Turner to the supermarket, Ronnie must sneak into the neighbor's second car and open the garage door. Kale, on the other hand, directs the process from his room. Everything seems to be going according to plan, but at some point, Turner suddenly drops the shovel he was inspecting on the sales floor and disappears from view. Ashley drops the phone and the call resets, and when she calls Kale again from the parking lot and tells him what happened, Ronnie hurriedly gives Kale the code to his neighbor's garage, as they won't have time to open it. Meanwhile, Turner himself gets into Ashley's car and asks her to stop following him. The man makes it clear that he knows about the trio's business and says he values his privacy. Finally, Ashley returns to Kale's house and tells him what happened. The guy immediately offers to call the police, but the girl is against it. She says Turner didn't do anything, and they did indeed violate his rights to privacy.
This has gone way too far.
In the evening, Kale continues his investigation alone. He's working on a video camera and constructing a device that can broadcast the image to his television set in real time. The doorbell rings. It's Ronnie, who reports in a shaky voice that he dropped his phone in Turner's car. But Cal's not bothered by this. It's the perfect excuse to try out this invention and check out what Turner's hiding. So Ronnie goes to his neighbor's garage again. There, the guy quickly finds the phone and then tries to look at what was hidden in the mysterious bags. But as soon as he opens the bags, the camera drops and the garage door begins to lower. Kale sees his friend running through the room of Turner's house, flailing his arms. The picture twitches, and at one point the transmission stops altogether. Despite the bracelet, Kale runs to his neighbor's house and tries to open the doors. The main entrance is unlocked, but the boy does not get inside in time. A patrol arrives after him. The boy yells to the police that the owner of the house has kidnapped his friend and is trying to kill him. Officer Gutierrez is hesitant, but then asks his colleague to take a look inside the house. They go to the garage and find out what's hidden in the bags. The cops bring Kale home and tell his mother that tomorrow the boy has to appear in court for a second offense, and that the neighbor has every right to press charges. As the officer leaves, Kale's mother starts yelling at the teenager. Despite her son's protests, she decides to talk to Turner about not reporting him to the police. Kale once again takes it upon himself to watch his neighbor's house. Suddenly, he gets a text message on his phone saying, "Look at your TV." An image of dead Ronnie appears on the screen. But soon he discovers that Ronnie's been hiding from the police in a closet all this time and just pranked his friend.
Do you have any idea what I've just been through? Hey!
Ronnie goes to the bathroom and puts on the tape he filmed at Turner's house for his friend. Kale doesn't even know what he should look at, his neighbor's windows or the screen, but when he notices a strange ventilation grate in the frame, he sits down in front of the computer after all. He zooms in and sees something that looks like a skull. Turner, meanwhile, is seeing off Kale's mother and knocks her unconscious just before she leaves. Kale realizes that he's just found all the evidence and calls out to Ronnie. Ronnie, however, has no time to get upstairs. He's hit on the head by Turner. In just a few moments, the maniac is at the top floor and starts chasing Kale. The guy deftly dodges the man's blows, runs out into the street and tries to escape. but it's still too late. Turner ties Cal up, tapes his mouth shut, and drags him back to the second floor. There, he sees the footage from the video camera and tells the guy the rest of the plan. Now, the boy's going to write a letter to Ashley, confessing that he killed his best friend because he was jealous, and his mother because she kept blaming him for his father's death. The man gives Cal a pen and paper, and he doesn't have time to start writing. A woman's voice calls out to him and Turner turns around. At the last moment, Cal elbows the man and runs towards Ashley. But the hardy Robert immediately rises up and picks up a knife. A struggle ensues, during which Ashley manages to injure the maniac's eyes, and Cal throws him down to the first floor. The couple is able to barricade themselves in a room. Ashley tries to call 911, but Cal reminds her that the phone doesn't work. They need to get out of the green zone first. While the guys are trying to figure out how to get out of the house, Robert is already trying to break through the door with an iron pipe. Then Ashley and Kale run across the roof and jump right into the pool.
I gotta get my mom. Make sure the cops are coming, okay?
Cal arms himself with a pruner and breaks down Turner's door. In the big room, he notices a huge dresser and pushes it aside. There's a lattice which he breaks out. No one responds to his shouts, and Cal decides to check the secret passage with a lamp. From afar, the guy hears a strange noise. He walks towards the noise, tapping the walls on his way. He stumbles into a treatment room, which looks more like a morgue. An autopsy table, tools, and documents of missing girls. Meanwhile, Officer Gutierrez sneaks into Turner's house in search of the fugitive prisoner, and immediately dies at the hands of the lurking maniac. Cal pushes back the evidence closet in the treatment room and discovers another secret passage. The noise he heard earlier is coming from there. The guy goes downstairs, inspects the basement, but suddenly the boards beneath him fail and he falls. Cal finds himself in some kind of liquid and realizes that the bodies of dead girls are floating around him. On the verge of his endurance, the boy climbs out of the trap and continues walking towards the sound. Finally, he finds his mother hanging from a hook with her hands tied. Cal cuts the rope with the pruning shears, but a fight ensues. Robert draws a knife and almost kills Cal, but at the very last moment, his mother picks up a random tool and stabs the maniac in the arm. The guy seizes the moment and wounds Turner with the pruning shears, then throws him into the water with the other corpses. Cal and his mother escape the monster's lair. Soon, the cops come to their house and cut off the boy's bracelet and release him ahead of time. Finally, Cal can go outside the garden plot, and now nothing stands in his way of romance with Ashley. Well, except for Ronnie, who now never lets go of his video camera. Leave a comment down below and tell us what you would do if you were grounded for 3 months without a gaming console or your favorite music. Also, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so that you can be the best movie connoisseur out of all of your friends.